how do you train at altitude? Top tips.
Top tips.
Russell's top altitude tips. Do you have to go to higher altitude than everyone else to push you on?
I don't know why you didn't step. You should have stepped upstairs. I don't know where to go from there. Ruth's top altitude tips. Yeah, don't come if you're short. If you're short, do he? Yeah. Okay, no, seriously. Quick one, huge favour to ask. So this year we're trying to improve everything that we're creating, and we don't ask for much, but one thing that would help us hugely would be if you could just hit that subscriber button. Thank you. I haven't done loads and loads of altitude. I reckon this is my 4th time at altitude, but I guess I've spent relatively good chunks at altitude, and I've also spoken to quite a few people about how they cope with altitude, how to do it. So I think top tip number 1 is make sure you have enough time to make it worthwhile. So I'd say for most people, especially if you haven't done much of it, you need a good 3 weeks. However, if you've then done quite a lot of altitude, you can get away with doing less because your body kind of adapts to it quicker, I think. Seems to anyway. Disclaimer, I don't really know much of the science behind it, so this is just me and my thoughts. So if you want the scientific version of it, go and find some research papers. But yeah, I found I usually need to take the first week really easy. So top tip number 1, have a really easy first week to settle in. It depends a bit on how high you are, but I think anything over like 1800, yeah, you need a nice, easy, mainly aerobic first week. Top tip number 2 is then adjust your expectations for altitude. So your watts are not going to be the same, / your heart rate and everything. So like basically I usually dial everything back by about 10% to give more realistic, again, depends exactly how high you are, but like roughly I'd say sort of 10-ish%. Yeah, otherwise you just get a bit depressed because you think, oh, your training's going really badly, when actually it's just because you're up high in the thin air. It's not that thin. Thinner.
When you act a fool, just one of these days, you're gonna get paid. Better watch your back.
Yeah, the other thing I would say before, so top tip number 3 is also be really on top of your nutrition. Like you generally are, your body's having to work a bit harder generally at altitude, so I always eat a little bit more, and I'm a bit more on top of, like, even for easy rides, making sure I've got carbs in my bottle and food with me, other than one ride when Indy had to come and rescue me, which was my own silly fault. Which, as demonstrated by me, if you don't take carbs or food with you, then it doesn't end very well. So yeah, like just be on top of it and just make sure that kind of meal times you're eating maybe a little bit more and keeping on top of that.
Give it to me.
Top tip number 4, bring all of your kit, like everything. I think most places at altitude are obviously in the mountains to be high, and mountain weather is very changeable and can be very different from, like, you know, within like a 5k radius, it can be like really different from being in lovely sunshine down to being in like a massive thunderstorm. So yeah, Boulder we had a blizzard, but then other days you're riding in shorts and t-shirts. So yeah, basically I've got with me summer kit, winter kit, rainy day kit, all the kit, turbo. I mean, obviously for most people, if you're flying, you can't bring the turbo, but yeah, have a think about what kit you need and how you might need to adjust stuff with the weather. Again, like I've adjusted my week this week because the weather was so bad yesterday. So I don't really want to give advice on dropping down because I feel like that's quite individual. I feel like you need to test it a bit. The general thing that people say is either go sort of 10 days or more or 3 days is what I've heard, but I've not really experimented very much with the 3 days.
I heard that.
Yeah, so I think there's things that you can do. I think like to be on the safe side, drop down earlier and you can use heat to keep some of the
Adaptation.
I was trying to think of the right word, thank you. You can use heat to kind of keep that. Yeah. It's destroyed my
She's sat
my
down
brain
and
cells.
shorts, isn't it? Ruth at sea level.
Yes, I think some of that's a bit of a preference as to what you've got coming up and how you can deal with it. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else.
Andy, what's your top altitude tip?
Be tall.
You can prepare for altitude in the weeks before by just holding your breath every now and then.
Oh, one more thing I forgot. Not about holding your breath. Supplements. You should take some iron supplements, especially if you're a woman. Yeah, keep on top of that. So, and quite a lot of people like to take it before you come out for a week or two, just to kind of preload, I guess. But yeah, I'd say that's quite important for most people to make sure that you're on top of that so you're not dipping too low.
Yeah. Also, just because you're on camp doesn't mean you have to do more than you usually do. The extra stress is the altitude.
And being around people.
And just living with other people in general.
And being touched.
Wow.
I just wanted that.
That's a good tip there, I like that.
The stress is the altitude, not the... Just because you're on training camp doesn't mean you have to do 20 million hours a week.
But you do if you're an age grouper.
If you're an age grouper, you might as well get the most out of your 3 weeks away, so 35 hours it is.